I'm Steve from How To in 5 and Reviews. If you're a new viewer, welcome. If you're a return viewer, welcome back. And today I'm going to give you my top 10 reasons that I ride a Can-Am Spyder, but this would also relate to the Can-Am Ryker. So stick with us, we'll go for a ride and I'll give you those top 10 reasons. So one of the questions that I get asked on a regular basis, Steve, why do you ride a Can-Am? And you know, I don't think there's any one word answer for that question. The Can-Am, and I'm going to call it Can-Am rather than just say Spyder, because there's the Can-Am Spyder and the Can-Am Ryker. I own a Spyder, but I've spent quite some time on a Ryker. They are both wonderful machines and they both do sort of the same thing. They're three-wheeled motorcycles. Later on in this video, I'm going to show you something that you just cannot do on a two-wheeled machine that you can do on a Can-Am, whether it be a Spyder or a Ryker, and it is a safety-related issue. And I do ask that question: is this the safest motorcycle of all time? But I'll start with, and this is in no real order, number 10 on the list. Can-Ams don't discriminate. You don't have to be a ace motocross rider or MotoGP rider. You can be tall or short, old or young, male or female. It really doesn't matter. If you have an ailment like dicky knees or crook hips. In fact, I received actually it was a comment, so I can show this comment back when I did the used bike review on this, this Can-Am, the one I'm riding today, and it was really interesting. And I'll bring it up here, and if you have a look at that, and this is something that I don't mind showing because it's in the public comment section on my channel. This is on the used bike review on the Can-Am Spyder. If it was an email, of course, I wouldn't show it here because the emails are more private. But you can see there, Dutchie has put that he has MS, bugger of a disease, but he hasn't let it stop him. He's got himself a Spyder, he has modified it up, he's put floorboards on it, and he's put a handbrake on it, and he's gone from Spyder Riders and Barjo Ron, suppliers that supply all these things, and it has allowed Dutchie, even with MS, he can ride around on his Spyder, and if you look in his last comment there, it even allows him to ride with his wife who has the 900 Ryker. He hasn't let it stop him, and this I just don't think you could do on a two-wheeler. Number 9 on my list, look, it just has to be the brakes that you have on a Spyder or a Ryker. There's a couple of, what are they, Triumph TR3s, looks like one of them's run out of petrol. A good bit of British motoring history there. Other brakes on these bikes, they are, I think, look second to none. You have a disc brake with Brembo calipers on all three wheels. Now, in this shot here, I'm riding through, this is my hometown of Harndorf in the Adelaide Hills in South Australia, and it's relatively quiet today. You can see it's autumn, or if in the US you call it fall. But recently I did a brake test comparison where I run the Can-Am Spyder versus the R1200 RT, just to show you how good these machines brake. And the reason I point this out is this town, as I said, is a tourist town, and generally it is packed with people. There are cars lined up down both sides of the street. Admittedly, the speed limit has been reduced down here, but you so often have tourists walking out, or children or whatever, walking out from in front of motor cars, and of course overseas tourists that are used to looking the opposite direction, remembering that in Australia and the UK we travel on the left side of the road, which is back the front if you're from a lot of overseas places. So the brakes are just magnificent. There are very few motor cars or motorcycles that can match the stopping ability of the Can-Am. So we're down to number 8, and look, in city type riding, the Can-Am is great. Look, it's no worries at all. One thing you can't do, if I have a look down there, no, you can't filter through the traffic. So if that's one of your priorities, the Can-Ams will not allow you to do that because, of course, they're not as wide as the car, but they are getting a lot wider. than a motorbike. So you can't filter down through the traffic. You soon learn to live with that. It's not a huge issue, but one of the big pluses here with the Can-Am over not all motorcycles, because there's a lot that do have this feature, but one of the big pluses that I find is that no matter where you go, what shopping centre, what road, if you look at this road here, the vehicle's on the left, it's angle parking and the front of the vehicles are down. It really doesn't matter. You can park anywhere. The Can-Am has reverse, and this is both the Spyder and the Ryker, so you're not having to find a special spot that you can pull into. You can see there's leaves, there's debris all over the road there. It really doesn't matter. You just belt in on the Can-Am, park, get off, go and do what you've got to do, come back, select reverse gear and back your bike out of the position. If you're coming into a parallel park scenario, well, nice and simple. Once again, just turn straight in and leaves, and it doesn't really matter what's on the road, it's not going to pose a problem to you. This now brings us down to number 7. I mean, really, as I said, there's no real order here. But number 7 on my list is the tracking of the Can-Ams. Because you have the 3 wheels and the Can-Am is fitted with stability control, if you come into a corner too hot, you're going too fast, or you need to get on the brakes in the corner, of course you've got ABS, you've got stability control, it will allow the bike to track around the corner without drifting over into the opposite lane. This would all look back to front to you, I guess, if you're in the US, but you get the drift of what's happening. We're on the left-hand side of the road. Now, and this one here, a bike came off here this morning, a sports bike, came around this next left-hander. You go round, we come into a tight lefty, and you come in, you tuck in quite tight. He hit the water there that has been splashed out onto the road. Actually, I'll just slow it down. You can see the water, you can see the slide marks where he came off and went across into the railing on the other side of the road. It was a sports bike. Fortunately, he wasn't badly hurt. The bike looked pretty second-hand, but it's just not an issue on the Spyder. You come around there. Also, road conditions. This bitumen is terrible. I mean, it's got cracks, it's got raised sections in it. You can see moss already this early in the season is already starting to grow in those cracks. It doesn't bother you on the Can-Am. You just ride through it. So any gravel or silt or something that's spewed out onto the road just doesn't bother you on the Can-Am. In fact, you don't worry about it at all. I'd love to get your feedback in scenarios or situations that you've been in where the Can-Am has saved you. Feel free to pop them in the comments section, or some people that don't like to use the comments section, you can always email me at howtoin5@gmail.com with your scenario and how the Can-Am has saved you in certain situations, especially on wet roads. I mean, you ride this on wet roads the same as you would drive a car. It really doesn't affect the Can-Am. There are no 2-wheel bikes that can get near you on the tight, twisty stuff on the wet roads. One of the other things, so what are we going to call this? We'll call this number 6. I think we're down to number 6. That is really impressive here is that if you're riding along and who knows what the scenario is, you need to pull up for whatever reason on the side of a quiet country road, and hey, these things happen. We're people. You can pull up. This is loose gravel with an off camber. Job done, and you're away again. Quick check in the mirror, and off you go again. They're the type of convenient things that it's really hard on some 2-wheel bikes. If you come into that gravelly side of the road, as I said, it's off camber, you're trying to put down a side stand, you can't use the centre stand, it can be really, really tricky. With the Can-Am, just pull in, stop, you have an electronic park brake, you don't even need to turn the bike off, just push the park brake, it will lock it up, it's not going to go anywhere, while you do whatever it is you have to do, and then back on the bike. If after you've watched this video and you're thinking, well, hey, look, I'm half interested in one of these things, I did do a full review on the Can-Am Spyder. It was a Can-Am Spyder used bike review where I give a complete breakdown of the bike and a close-up look at a lot of the features. I do the fuel economies, the weight of the bike, the track, the wheelbase, a more detailed breakdown of the Can-Am itself on the F3S. This was it here, Can-Am Spyder F3S used bike review. It was about 6 months ago or something of that nature. One of the things that the Can-Am does do, it uses more fuel than a two-wheeled motorcycle. It's nowhere near as bad as a car, but it does use more fuel, and I guess that has to happen. It's a bigger, heavier machine. Who said, I think it was Newton's third law, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. We are on a heavier machine here that is far more stable than everything else. It's a triple cylinder, 1330 cc's, producing about 115 horsepower. So the balance there is that you will use a little more fuel than the two-wheeled bike, but as I say, it's nowhere near as bad as a car, and I'll show you here because I'm about to fuel up. Time to put some fuel in. I run the 98 octane. That would vary depending on how your country rates it. Fuel costs here in Oz, you're looking at $2.09 or $2.01 a litre. If you're in the US, for instance, it's about 3.75, I think it's 3.78 litres to make a gallon. That's going to make it 3 3/4 by 2, around that 750, a little over 750 a gallon. So that'll give you a comparison of what we're paying here in Oz. Oh, by the way, it's May 22. Hopefully I got my math right there, but if you're in another part of the world, I'd love to hear what you're paying for your fuel. We're about to go up by 20 cents a litre. That would be near on just under 80 cents. US, that'd be right, wouldn't it? I know some countries are paying more than us. I think it's all in relation to what's going on with the Russia-Ukraine crisis at the moment. And thoughts are with those people in Ukraine. Now, down to number 5 on the Can-Am Spyder. And this relates to some of the later Rykers that have this feature. When you're getting onto the freeway, as we're about to do here, you pull up, you accelerate on the on-ramp, up onto the freeway. You've got a relaxed seating position because your feet are forward. They're not bent onto a set of foot pegs like you get on most motorbikes, of course. Oh, cruisers, you've got feet forward, haven't you? But up the ramp here, go through the gears. First thing you do, get yourself sorted out. On this freeway, the speed limit is 110 kilometres an hour. That's about 70 mile an hour. First thing you do is hit the cruise control. You can sit for hours in this position. It is nice, it is comfortable. The cruise control holds it on the exact set speed. It is a really, really relaxing machine to do long distances on. Off the freeway now and back into the windy twisties where the Can-Am shines. It's so much fun to ride through this sort of scenario. Now, number 4, some may consider this not to be a really significant thing and maybe not to deserve the position of number 4, although we did say that it's not in any great order. But this is a really handy thing to have on a bike, and a lot of bikes, most bikes, don't have this feature. The Honda NC 750 does, and I think it was the early Suzuki Across has this feature, but this is really, really handy. You've taken the bike down to the shops or your favourite coffee place or wherever it might be, and you're hopping off the motorcycle. You need to put your crash helmet somewhere, or you need to carry it. It's not always convenient, as we spoke about in one of my earlier reviews, to carry the helmet. Where do you put it? You turn the key, the ignition key that is, in the opposite direction, push down, turn it. It opens the front boot or trunk or frunk Storage compartment on the front. You can pop your helmet in there, push the lid back down again, it clicks in and locks, go away, do whatever it is you're going to do. You don't have to carry your helmet around with you. When you come back, take it out, and if you've bought something, you can pop it back into that same hole. It is just such a convenient feature. Number 3 on my list, and I spoke about it earlier in the video where I said this is something that you just cannot get away with on a two-wheeled motorcycle, or if you do, you are extremely lucky. What I'm going to do at 100 kilometers an hour or 60 mile an hour is I'm going to go around a right-hand bend and drop 2 wheels into the dirt. Now, I'm in Oz. We travel on the left-hand side of the road, the same as they do in the UK, on the left-hand side of the road. If you're in the US or Canada where you travel on the right, this would be the equivalent of a left-hand bend. I'm going to drop the left front wheel and the rear wheel totally off the bitumen into the dirt while I'm going around the bend and maintain the speed as if I am avoiding an animal or, we have a lot of kangaroos get on the roads here. You may have deer, whatever you have. It could just be a lapse in judgment. So what I'll do here, we'll have a quick look at it from outside of the bike first. So here we come. You can see the bike coming, 2 wheels off while we're in the bend, maintaining speed. It looks like a non-event, doesn't it? If you look at it from on the bike itself, maintaining that speed, come in, onto the dirt, back, onto the dirt, and just turn onto the bitumen again. The right-hand front brake, now I did steer the bike through that. I didn't come off the power, but the right-hand front brake, you can feel it start to take over as the left-hand side is free. The right hand starts to take over, and you can just maintain your steering and bring the bike back onto the road again. It truly is magnificent. If you can get away with that on a two-wheeled bike, you would be extremely lucky. But on the Can-Am, your chances of coming home to your family that night are extremely high due to this beautifully engineered stability control system. I'm going to do it again here where I actually hit the brakes. So 60 mile an hour, onto the brakes, flat brakes, as hard as I can push them. You can see the bike twitches, but I pull up in a straight line again. Now, I really don't know, and as I say, I ride a lot of motorcycles. I don't know many bikes that you can get away with that scenario in one piece. Yes, you'll get a scare on the Can-Am, but as you can see, it was almost a non-event. Number 2 on my list, and if you're a subscriber to my channel, thank you very much. If you're not, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button for me. If you're a regular, you will know that Steve does love to have a play in the dirt, and when I'm on my Can-Am, this is no exception. I might add that really, if you want to do this type of thing, a Ryker is more suited. But when I see some dirt, and of course it's off of public roads, etc., I do love to have a play. Children will be children. So what was that, number 2, and we'll get to number 1 in a moment, but just a quick look at the models that are available in the Can-Am. You've got the Can-Am Ryker. Now that's a fully automatic model, which you don't have to change gears. It has reverse gear, but you don't have to do any upshifting on that one. And great bike, shaft drive. You've got the big touring model, which is the RT. And as I think I mentioned in another one of my videos, that's like the gold wing of the Can-Am series. Or you've got this one that I'm riding here today. This is my own bike. I've done many thousands of kilometres. That's the F3S. It's the sports version, so she sits a little bit lower. Suspension is a bit tighter, and it allows you to get, what we call it, a little more spirited with your riding. And it's also great, look, on long distance hauls, but not as comfortable as the Limited. And if you're doing more dirt work, I think the Ryker is the go. It's shaft drive. They have a rally version, which also nowadays is fitted with the cruise control. They are just great all-round machines. Now you may be thinking at this stage, before I give you my number one reason for riding a Can-Am, you may think this guy has got the best job in the world, riding around on a beautiful, sunny, cool day on this fantastic machine, finding the best possible roads and scenarios to produce this video. But I can tell you it's hard work, and you need to at least 3 times a day stop in at one of your favourite coffee shops for a nice cup of coffee. There's a heap of other bikes here, as you can see, people to have a chat with, and compose before you give your number one reason. And that brings me to my number one reason for riding a Can-Am, and the facts are they are just fun to ride. They are safe by motorcycling standards, they are fast and exciting, or they can be slow and leisurely. They can be convenient. They allow people that maybe don't want to ride a two-wheeler or can't ride a two-wheeled motorcycle to be able to get out and enjoy the fresh air and the motorcycle riding experience. And you may get some hardcore two-wheel motorcycle riders, although having never ridden a Can-Am, and say that's not a real motorcycle. But the delightful thing about facts is that you don't have to like them at all, and yet they are still facts.